being here. It is Wednesday, August 19th, 9:01 a.m. We'll go ahead and get started with the roll call. Jeff? Here. Barb? Ellie? Patty? Gary? Here. Joe? And Fred? I can't see over Joe's. We have a quorum. We'll have him get started. I know that Susan's at home recovering. We wish her well. And Brenda's out of town. So welcome. Let's move on to item number 2, oral communications for items that are not on the agenda. This is the time when anybody can address the committee on items that are not on the agenda. Anybody in the schoolhouse would like to make a comment? Go ahead, please. Step to the podium, turn on the mic.
Mike's on. I just wanted to remind everyone that this is the time of year when you're walking on the trails, you might see Detrichia. And if you want to be a great community member, it would be delightful if you would cut it off before it goes to bloom so that it will die and not recede. Thank you. I'm speaking for myself.
Thank you, Teresa.
Detrichia? There will be a posting, I think, on the forum of Detrichia shortly.
And I'll follow that up with a public comment, being speaking as a public person right now. The construction sites around town are not doing a very good job of managing their noxious weeds. So when you go by the construction site, you see a lot of thistle, a lot of stinkweed. And I don't know what the process is for the building and planning department to monitor that. But for example, that construction site on Westridge where they moved the fence back, it's just, anyway, that's just me speaking as a member of the public. Okay, would anybody else like to make a comment in the schoolhouse? Oh, we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that. I did not forget you.
Could I make a comment as a member of the committee, please? Ellie Ferrari here.
As a member of the public, you can make a comment on anything that's not on the agenda.
Okay. On my street, Willowbrook, we've got 4 construction projects. Is it fair to have so many projects on at the same time on a street that is not a very long street? I know it means more bureaucracy, but do you think the town should consider when it approves building projects? And if there are too many in a small area, that they can say, well, wait a minute, we have to defer this. Because I was coming home the other day, there was a garbage truck, cars on either side of the road. I'm in my horse trailer. The garbage truck very sweetly backs up for me to get in my driveway. Along comes a Peloton. They're screaming and yelling because everything on both sides. No, that's ripe for an accident and lots of lawsuits. So anyway, I don't know if this is something that should be referred to the building committee, to the town council.
Well, our town manager is here and I think he's listening. So thank you for the comment. Oh, you'd like to address it? Please go right ahead.
Technically, under the Brown Act, I can't provide substantive responses, but 2 quick things. If you observe any issues with construction sites, and I truly want you to pay attention because you are the eyes of our community and you may know more than anyone else, especially about trails and paths on construction sites. If you see any concerns, please email code@portolavalley.net. We have a code enforcement officer who's here weekly. We only respond to inquiries at this point. We don't have them driving around just trying to drum up business, if you will. But I highly encourage you, if you see anything, to email them literally that minute. The email is monitored daily because the faster we can address these code issues at construction sites, especially if you see like trees coming down or trails not in the right location, dirty sites or some of the trails on construction sites get dirty. We also had an issue where PG&E installed a guy wire like over a trail. I was riding a horse and almost got decapitated. Those kind of things, just please send it our way. And about the concentration, unfortunately, we can't control that. Property owners have a lot of rights to do construction projects, and it would be unduly burdensome if we did limit activities. But again, if you see these concentrated areas, those are good areas to just keep an extra close eye on. because we really don't want any one neighborhood to feel a lot of strain from these construction projects.
I've already contacted the code enforcer maybe a year ago about some scoring of driveways. And Robert Burt, who was your town engineer, was involved with that. He was asking the Trails Committee, what kind of scoring do we need? I believe Bob Eckstein sent him samples. I believe we no longer have that gentleman. We have somebody else, I believe, Armando Lee, whatever. So it seems like the code enforcer is.
We do have a new code enforcement officer too. He's been with us maybe 6 to 9 months, but something that was sent maybe a year ago might have, in all honesty, just slipped through the cracks. So I do know we've been trying to address the concerns though. And I think working with Gary, we've addressed a few of them.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So I think the takeaway is what's the email address again?
code@portolavalley.net.
code@portolavalley.net.
And the other thing that helps is pictures, because again, some of these sites you can't really get into them from the street. So if you see any pictures, they are the code enforcement officer's best friend, as well as details of the location of where you saw it. Some photos are geo-referenced, but if not, a location helps a lot.
Thank you, Darcy.
Can I just ask one little question but related to that? Parking on the trails related to these, is that code enforcement as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah.
Okay, because I see it all the time and everybody's like, we don't know, we don't know, we don't know. When they get their permits, is it in their packet that they need to tell their subs that they cannot park on trails? Like I thought they were supposed to contain parking to the actual building envelope site that was being, addressed. And they're on right now on just up the road from Gary's house, actually.
I talked to them and they're
I talked to them too.
they're doing a
They
better
had
job.
5 cars parked there and I was
Mhm.
walking up there with my dog and I'm like, you can't park on this. Anybody walking down this trail is going to get hit because they can't see. We weren't told that. We don't need to move. And I said, actually, you do need to move. Who's your contractor? I'll talk to him right now, or he can talk to the town. So I would just say this happens every day, and I don't know what to do. Like we've had this ongoing issue. but
Well,
it seems-
I don't want to get too deep into this, but I guess we can put it under our trails maintenance discussion. There is a construction staging plan that is put together as part of the permit package. We normally would review any site development permit that had a trail on the site. And we would look at that staging plan and we would often comment, one of our boilerplate comments would be no parking on the trail, no material stacking on the trail, and so on and so forth. I don't know if that happens anymore. Our building and planning department is turned over. It's doing different things. But the goal, and Darcy, I'll just say this to you, is we're happy to review any site development permit of a project that has a trail on it or nearby. And then we would offer that comment with regards to the staging plan to keep everything up, keep the trail open. Okay. Thank you, Darcy. And thank you for that, those good comments. Fred, is there anybody online? Can you reach over there and see if we got anybody like to make a comment online? Hands up.
Person online, but no hand was raised.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and close item 2, oral communications. Let's move on to item 3, old business, approve the minutes from our June meeting. So this is an opportunity. They're attached to our agenda packet. This is a time to make any changes.
Just so you know, next year's horse fair budget is dropped to 7,500.
Mhm.
Joe. And then there was a typo somewhere, which I'm now trying to find. Sorry.
So remove the may is what you're saying,
Yeah.
and replace it with has dropped. Instead of may drop, has dropped.
Anyway.
Any other changes, deletions, additions? Okay, then I will go ahead and call for a motion to approve the June 17 minutes as amended. Can I get a second? Everybody in favor? Okay, Fred's abstaining. Okay, looks like motion's carried. You are.
Okay, I'll make it through the thing and I'll.
Yeah, yes. It's been approved as amended, so you'll make the change, send it to me, I'll send it up. Veronica. Get posted. Okay. Item B, trails maintenance update. So we did get a list of trail work from Scott, and I've been told, and again, thank you, Darcy, for keeping me in the loop, that Tony McFarland, our assistant town manager, is now overseeing public works. So if we have a public works issue, maybe perhaps unrelated to code enforcement issues, we would talk to Tony. So here is a list of the work that's been done. Does anybody have any comments or questions on this list? It's attached to our agenda packet.
Once the body's going up, you can't ride your horse from that.
Okay, so I would,
Goes up.
so for any, since we don't have PV Connect anymore, Darcy, would it be reasonable for us to send any trail maintenance requests straight to Tony?
Hi. So PV Connect does work, but only on the website. And I think some people who have like the legacy app from a while ago, it may still work. But the website, you should be able to find it. And we do prefer those because they go straight to the main folks, Justin Scott. Yeah, yeah,
No.
Oh, from the website.
the website.
Added picture.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's what we prefer. If something's falling through the cracks or it's like honestly an emergent, well, if you see any emergencies, just text me. But if it's fallen through the cracks or you think it needs special attention, then email Tony.
Okay.
I will also tell you, we're working on a replacement that we're really excited about, and that should launch in the fall because it's a dated system.
Fair enough. Okay, so the procedure is to use the town's website. And if that doesn't work, then email Tony McFarland.
Can I just say a shout out to Scott Weber? Because he took a tree down that's on the Larry Lane Trail, which means he has to hike in. There's also branches down on Black Oak, which means he has to hike in. He also took out a big tree, maybe 2-3 months ago, up on Los Trancas Trail, which he did get to, but a huge tree. So I really think that he's doing a wonderful job with just one person. And I think he occasionally drags his assistant up there to help him. But anyway.
Yeah, kudos to Scott and Justin. They rock. Okay, thank you. Any other comments on the trail maintenance update we received? Okay, we do not have to vote on that, so we'll go ahead and move on to item C, Portola Terrace update. I did get a updated map from the building and planning department and was asked to confirm that our latest trail routing, the data from our latest trail routing changes had made its way onto the map, which it did for all practical purposes. However, they're not ready to publish this map to the public yet. So I don't have anything to bring to the committee at this point, but just know it's in progress. And it looks like they have our latest recommendations for trail routing. And so I hope maybe at our next meeting, we'll be able to bring that master map for everybody to look at. Other than that, I don't have any other Portola Terrace updates relative to trails. Item D, site development permits. Haven't gotten any, so nothing to do there. Anybody, any comments on site development permits? Easements. So we had a resident emailed us and through Fred to talk about the section of trail on Alpine Road between the ranch going into Coal Mine and Windy Hill, where you essentially, when you move between the two trail networks, you kind of have to walk on the road. Does everybody know what I'm talking about up there? You know, where you go through the motorcycle gate and then you go down and get onto Toyon. So I did a little research and it turns out there are some easements along the west side of Alpine Road between the corner of Willowbrook and almost up to where the entrance to Windy Hill is. Now, that's not to say we could put a trail there, but there are some easements there. So that's something I'm going to take a little closer look at, probably with Tony, now that he's doing public works. I'll ask for a meeting and we can take a quick look at that. I also, as part of that research, I also noticed that there's trail easements along the back of the homes on Willowbrook. Almost down to your house. I think it stops just before your house. So you could have a trail on the back of. That's the other side. I'm talking about on your side. At the back of your properties, there are easements that come from Alpine Road along the back of the lots, and along the creek. I'll show them to you. It's interesting. Yeah, so it's, yeah, this is in the category of easements that the town has, but the trails have not yet been developed. And so I'm keeping a list of those. There's quite a few of them, quite a few of them actually we found over the years. But nonetheless, we want to try to address this issue. The resident was concerned about safety on Alpine Road, which I would agree with. And if a trail could be put in there at some point, maybe that could be a trail center project or some type of volunteer effort.
So that's if you're headed up Alpine Road, that's on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep. The problem is that the easement doesn't go all the way, at least the maps don't show it. That's where,
Well,
it's like little
it might
gray.
cover the vegetation that prevents you from walking. there,
Yeah,
so.
right. So anyway, that was some interesting developments with easements. Okay, let's move on to item F, the Hawthorns project. So I included our letter again for everybody to review because there is a town council working work group. What do you guys call it? A work group session, study session on 8/26 at 5:30 p.m. And this is going to be an opportunity for the public to, in a pretty free flow format, I believe, have a discussion with the town council about issues related to the Hawthorns project. So I encourage everybody to attend. If you have something to say and you want to get a point across, it's a great time to do it. We have submitted this letter. I will be there I don't think I'll end up reading the letter, but I will certainly answer any questions that the council has with regards to the content of the letter. But today, if anybody would like to add anything to the letter or change anything in the letter, now would be a good time to do so. So the letter is attached to our packet. If you want to take a quick second to just review it, or if anything new has come up since we penned this letter, since Fred penned the letter. Thank you again, Fred. This would be a great time to talk about it and get it in there because I would be happy to present it.
Ellie Ferrari here. Yeah, I think it's a very succinct letter. I seem to remember seeing somewhere, and I don't see it in this letter here, about hopefully if this process were to proceed with the town taking over Hawthorns, that they would expect Mid-Penn to be rather considerate in how much they would want. But I thought I saw it somewhere. Am I dreaming that? Saying they hope Mid-Penn wouldn't have a big price tag on it.
Yeah,
Am I dreaming?
that's outside of our,
I saw it somewhere, but it's not in the letter.
so that's the open space folks have a letter talks about that.
But that sentiment should be directed towards Mid-Penn, not the town.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah, Mid-Penn put out a FAQ and it made its way out onto the forum and I read it briefly. And I don't want to make a lot of comments about it, but to me, it just seems like they were trying to control the narrative going and the discussion. I found a number of just I won't call them inaccuracies, but the way that it was written kind of implied certain things that maybe necessarily weren't completely spelled out the way it would really happen, if that makes sense. And so I won't go into that, but I would suggest that everybody read that if you have an opportunity. And that might be cause for more comments that you could bring to the study session. The study session is August 26th at 5:30 PM here in the schoolhouse. Yeah.
I think if I would say anything, I'd just underscore the safety issue. I've been watching those kids go along the trail and I was inattentive to it until this issue came up, and it is quite dangerous. And that would be made so much more so by, however that construction would be handled. So I really underscore the issue. Hopefully I can get there.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, I went to a school board meeting. I can't remember when it was, but it was at the end of the year, their last meeting of the year, before the last meeting of the last school year. And I offered to collaborate with them on this issue because the school board has a vested concern in the safety of the kids and how they go from school to home. And this is a safe routes to school. This is certainly on their radar. And so I think, to your point, the school district is going to be at that study session. And I think they actually brought this up at their meeting last night. So there's a lot of eyes and ears on that safety component.
I thought there was also a problem with where they would have to put the trail on the Mid-Penn land. It weaves back in, and there was some concern that the kids would disappear from sight for, good Lord, maybe something like that. I don't know. Is that, well,
Yeah,
maybe that's to be ironed out.
our original ask, I thought, was so simple. And then and if you read that Mid-Penn FAQ, it just shows all these public meetings and all of this bureaucracy. So through from the original ask of just making that trail safer for the kids to what they came up with today is exactly what you said. They move Alpine Trail inward inside of the trees, and the kids are now out of sight. So they didn't solve the problem. So that's in our letter, and we'll be talking about that with them for sure. And I know the school district will be talking with them about that. But does anybody have any additional comments for the letter? The letter good to go?
Well
Okay.
done, really well done.
Okay, great. So Darcy, yes, public comment?
Yes, I will just make the comment. It may be worth you taking just another look at the trail system. It's come to my attention that the trails are multi-use trails, which is normally something we embrace. But I will tell you, I've heard just so many concerns lately about e-bikes on the trails. And one thing I learned that was interesting from Mid-Penn is that it is very hard for them to prohibit e-bikes on their trails, even when they're not allowed, because they are allowed under the American Disability Act. And they've had a lot of people riding e-bikes on their trails that they can't actually.
Can we just, I think we should separate one thing about e-bikes, and we should hold a hard line on this. Pedal assist e-bikes are probably fine. I think Mid-Penn's regulations are behind the times and are not with what mainstream world.
Which are
is-
motorcycles.
There's the other type, which are motorcycles, which are electric motorcycles. And those I don't believe are allowed. But I think that they are bucketing all e-bikes together.
Mm.
And I don't think it's at all someone using an e-bike to pedal assist up Windy Hill, who otherwise wouldn't be able to bike up Windy Hill, is probably a good thing. And I think that like we should be very in favor of people using human powered motion and things that assist that. I think, I don't know, we could have a broader discussion on this, but like, I think things that assist that and don't create dangerous speeds, great. But yes, they have to enforce electric bikes regardless though. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to make that distinction on
Yes.
e-bikes. So please.
It's a
continue.
good
I'm sorry. I'm
distinction.
sorry.
And I think I would just ask that you look at their proposed multi-use trail in the broader perspective of our trail networks. And I've had many conversations with your group and especially Gary about bikes on trails, only because it's a very nuanced issue and a big one. But what I've just seen in the past few months is many more kids on, let's call them motorcycles, which are illegal and they're not allowed on our trails.
Yeah.
And when I've talked to the constituents out there that I think are connected to this group of kids, I have reiterated many times, please keep them off the trails because they're coming up on our trail users and it could be a big conflict. I'm not advocating that they go crazy in the streets because then that creates more potential conflict with vehicles, which are much more dangerous. But why I bring this into the Hawthorne's conversation is really not necessarily about e-bikes, but just looking at if there is bike access at Hawthorne's, how are people getting there? Because what I don't want to have happen is an unintended consequence of this multi-use trail where now more bikers are using our trail system, the trails they're not supposed to be biking on. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
I think
We may even need to put more signs up, for example, along the Alpine Road Trail to prevent that. That's just why I would say if you want to look at the trails a little bit closer, deeper dive, now may be a time.
Well, as strange as it sounds, the trail usage inside of the Hawthorns is outside of our purview.
Oh,
Those
okay.
are not town trails. However, where they intersects with town trails is within our, and a great example of that is where Sequoia Trail intersects with Windy Hill Trail, whatever trail that is.
Yeah.
So we control what can come on to Sequoia Trail there, and we have a sign, no bikes allowed. And so certainly we can look at that aspect of it. It gets a little complicated because our original ask was to make Alpine Trail along the front of the Hawthorns a multi-use trail so the kids could ride their bikes down to Alpine Hills. So as it stands today, the solution that they're providing doesn't get us there. So we would end up still with Alpine Trail, no bikes allowed, which would then, complicate this whole interconnection because and kind of back to their fact where one of the things they want to do is to interconnect their trail systems to other regional trail systems, which I think that goal has failed miserably, with this project. The only trail they do interconnect with is Alpine Trail. So
Mhm.
you literally would have to carry your bike or
Mm-hmm.
take it into a parking lot, ride it along their loop, put it back on your car or carry it back out because there'd be no other way to get the bike in there.
Yeah. And what you just described, the practical implications of that, which are probably slim, meaning like people just aren't going to do that. That's what I worry about. So
Yeah.
I think the solution, and we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but just more think as you look at their trail plan, I want you to think bigger and
Can I comment? Because I have extensively studied the trail plan and was advised on that multi-use. The other side of this issue is there are no places for kids to ride bikes in town. And a bunch of the support to open up that for trails is so that you can have multi-use. You can have multi-use just like you have in Rostradero.
Yeah.
I think the places where we should be careful is if we do end up making that connection to the Sweet Springs Trail, you've got to have a gate or something there. You've got to have real clarity that it's not multi-use. And actually the connector trail, if we do have a connector, that should not actually be multi-use. There should be no bikes allowed on that connector trail. I do think that, there's an ongoing, ever-present use of Coal Mine Ridge by mountain bikers. I don't think this, I mean, my personal opinion is it's not going to increase that. There's a set of people that do that and they just do. And until we somehow have some mechanism to enforce against it, like, I don't think we're going to stop it. But this is intended as a place to give people in town to go ride the bikes. And my hypothesis is it's going to be much more that than sort of attractive nuisance for cyclists.
Okay, good, good. Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense. And maybe it's a nice appropriate distance for children. Because it just doesn't seem like it's going to be like
Exactly. It's a
aggressive mountain bikers.
It's like a mile and a half
Yeah.
worth of trails. So it's not like there's no Pelotons are going to be going through there.
Right, yeah. And the simple fix is just to, do what we asked from the onset, which is to move Alpine Trail inward a little bit, make it multi-use. Now you can ride literally from Rosati's all the way down on that side of the road on a bike and then cut into the Hawthorns on a bike and turn around and go right back. So I know that that's kind of embedded in our letter and we'll certainly be talking about that, but we appreciate your point. Yes, it's broken right now.
Question, Fred, you were talking about the difference between pedal assist and the others, and I've been trying to pay attention now that I've been seeing more and more kids around. Is the difference truly just like pedal assist ones have pedals and the others are more like foot pegs?
Yes.
Yeah. The ones, well, so speaking of the problems with bikes on trails, so Shady Trail has a bunch and we have camera evidence of it. You've got both the fully electric, no pedal bikes. Then you also have gas-powered mini bikes. There's two of those that run around. And I don't know. I mean, when I was a kid, I rode a mini bike. They're kind of fun, but
Yeah,
They're-
I've seen them filling up at the gas station.
yeah, they're not.
It's a small group, I think.
Yeah, it's just and then so there's 2 or 3 kids. I've talked to 2 of them and educated them that if they are on our trails and they run into someone on a horse, their parents are going to be liable for that. That's not going to be fun, not going to be pretty. I had a good conversation with one of them. So I think the more that we can just talk to them, because they're actually very reasonable. I have found when you actually talk to them and they just don't understand the issue. They're like, no one's on this nice piece of dirt.
If I would have had a mini bike, I'd have been all over it.
Yeah. So I do think educating parents too, maybe through the school district,
Strike
that,
that
like-
from the record.
there's real risk here, I think would be a really good thing to do.
But they're not just going on the trails. I've seen them going down Alpine Road, right on the road.
Well, that's a whole other,
These same
That's someone new.
guys.
Well, let's hold on to that discussion real quick. We'll talk about that in item H here. And so let's just wrap up the Hawthorns. It's open for public comment. Does anybody else in the schoolhouse have a comment? And does anybody online raise their hand? Okay, then we'll go ahead and wrap up the Hawthorns project. I look forward to seeing everybody that can make it on the 26th. I will be there. Item G, the Eagle Trail Trail Center project. So I've included the proposal in here for those of you that are interested. Left it on the printer, but it should be in there. Great. 2 things to understand at the moment. One is that we have a change in staff. So Robert, who is project for the town, is moved on, and now we have a new town engineer. This project needs approval from the town engineer. So I know Darcy and Tony McFarland are starting to look at that for us. There's an insurance component. I know that that's been worked out in the past, so I'm going to assume that that can get done. The other issue is they're proposing some pre-prep work to the trail that would either require us to hire a contractor or use some of our in-house time, as well as some material costs. And so that was kind of new to me. And so I've asked Darcy to take a look at that to see if that was budgeted. We have some time. The date's in September. You have it up?
Yeah.
Well, Yeah, September 12th. So we have a little time there. So we'll hopefully get that all wrapped up and be able to hold on to the date. You know, remember the original intention was just to get the area along the creek filled in. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we don't want to lose the trail. And so if we need to narrow the scope down to not include the switch back up the steeper portion, I'm okay with that. So we'll just see how all that goes. I'll continue to work with Darcy on it and hopefully it'll get done.
Can I ask a question? Is
Yes.
this the First time we're working with Trail Center like this?
No, Trail Center did Toyon work. They also did, they did another trail on the ranch.
I think they've actually only worked on Toyon and they've done 2 projects on Toyon.
No, they did the one that goes up.
Oh, they did Bay Laurel too?
Yeah, Bay Laurel.
Yeah. And then, yeah, okay. That's
The
right.
reason
You're
I
right.
ask is because there are a lot of single tracks in the ranch that are in need of, you know, the edge has sloughed over, so your walking area is like not even 2 feet wide, which is not really great when you have a drop off there. So there's potentially, if we don't have the, you know, in-house capability of doing that, maybe that's something they could also work on, because these trails are really well used.
I think that's mainly Sweet Springs, isn't it?
No, I'm talking about like from Sweet Springs over to, you know, that goes along the back of the range.
Yeah.
Over by the school, that trail, there's some good drop offs, and then up in the range where there's trails that have been, there's D's on one of them, you can't turn around if you're on a horse. So, there's just too much of a drop off, because the trails are, I mean, you know, that's just normal wear and tear on the trail. But they're potentially, we could use them potentially for those kinds of things if they are amenable, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the ranch has their own trails committee, and I don't recall the gal who's running it now. Do you, Fred, remember?
Is it Sarah who's still running it? It might be
Sarah
Sarah.
Gilbert. Yes.
It might be Sarah.
Yeah, thank you. Sarah Gilbert. So you can email Sarah with your concerns. We could initiate this ourselves, but I would rather do it in collaboration with the ranch since they have their own committee and, you know, they're, you know, extra hours, extra horsepower that can help move this project along.
Yeah.
And they've worked with them. So I would suggest sending any issues you have straight to them and say, if you're going to do any Trail Center projects, you know, here's a couple of areas that could use some attention. Great idea. Okay. Public comment on the Eagle Trail. Anybody online, Fred, over there? No. Okay, we'll close the Eagle Trail. Okay, so item H, the trails and paths ordinances, resolutions and guidelines. So one of the things that Darcy and I talked about, I might have touched on this in one of our last meetings, is this concept of an administrative citation. And we were just talking about how can we enforce the rule. An administrative citation, if I'm not mistaken, is a citation that can be written by staff. I'm not sure if you can deputize anybody like a committee member, but so you know, Justin, Public Works, Darcy, McFarland, anybody that's on the staff could actually write a citation for to somebody for breaking the rules. So that's interesting, right? That it gives us a tool that we haven't had before. So it kind of makes this project a little bit more important. And so I know we didn't have a meeting last time. Does anybody have any suggestions for, you know, violations that should be citable? I know we were going to make a list starting with there.
Can I ask a question? What's the consequence of an administrative citation?
Darcy, would you, a fine?
Fine. And there's a fine schedule or it's all the same fine?
So how do you actually enforce it? Say somebody is illegal use on the trail, or they obstruct a trail, does you send somebody from the town or you report it to the town and they go out?
That's a great question. So one of the things I hope to get out of this project is to codify certain violations. You know, there's not going to be that many. Let's say riding an e-bike on a trail could be one of them. Speeding on a trail could be. You know, the,
How do you catch them?
well, you know, the staff can stop
I
them.
mean,
You know, they can take
realistically.
a picture. They could, there's ways they can do, you know, how does a ranger stop them in Windy Hill? They,
well, the rangers are active in Windy Hill.
Yeah.
And they can give immediate tickets.
this is, would be similar to that. I guess we'd give you green vests and a badge.
So administrative citations are commonly used by cities, towns, and they're, I guess, like one sort of step below what a sheriff's deputy would issue, like a traffic citation, right? It's like a triplicate form, and I don't know if it's $50 or $100. It's not a huge amount of money, but essentially, someone like Scott or Justin, let's say Justin's out working on his, cutting down the tree and some bikers just whiz by and like do something, and he can then give the citation to them. And we could also use them for off-leash dogs, which I've heard is an issue around here. And it's not like you're super aggressive because it's just staff doing that if it's a major issue. But it could be something that helps us enforce our ordinances. So it's used to enforce anything in our municipal code, any ordinance adopted by the council. And it's usually used for these sort of low-level just nuisances.
What's the consequence if someone doesn't pay the fine?
Wall of
No, but
shame.
I mean, I think this
Wall of
matters.
shame.
It
I think
honestly,
it matters.
I don't have the code open right now to remember it. I'm not sure if it gets to the point of a misdemeanor. I think you can issue a follow-up, but then you send them to collections and it just kind of goes away. It's meant to like get their attention enough, but if the fine doesn't get their attention,
So should they be,
much else is, I'll just say.
And it might serve as a deterrent. We might be able to change our signs to say punishable by this ordinance fine up to something. We've never had that before. Fred, to your point, it may not stop certain people. But it might, maybe if someone's out of town, they're on a bike, they say, oh, no bikes here, oh, and I can get fined. Maybe it causes them to rethink what they're going to do. I don't know, but it's something we don't have now. And so the part of I think the goal of this project is to, figure this out. Would this work? Would it be valuable? What would be the things that we would cite? And if they are not codified or ordinances at this time, we need to make them ordinances. So again, starting with the kind of the items we think should be citable, then we'll go look, are these in the municipal code or are they already ordinances? If they're not, then we make them ordinances. That we wouldn't be, and correct me if I'm wrong, we wouldn't be driving the administrative citation portion of that. I mean, that's. out of
Correct.
our
Yeah.
purview, right?
It's like a legal
We
document.
would just be making sure the town, we'd make recommendations to the council to make certain violations, ordinance.
If they aren't
Like they
already an
are.
ordinance now. So like I'm thinking the speed limit.
E-bikes.
I think there's clarity on e-bikes, but perhaps there could be more, given the definitions
Has e-bikes
evolved.
made it into the town
I haven't.
code, municipal code yet?
No, it hasn't, but my interpretation allow motorized vehicles on trails.
Okay, but which is in the.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in the code.
Okay,
We have actual signs
yeah, we do.
that say you can't do that.
Yeah.
I do think you should explore like what is the actual consequence when someone doesn't pay the fine, and it has to be something that's really frustrating and annoying for actual like sending people to collections, putting a note on a credit memo.
Suspending their driver's license.
No, but like things that we actually have control over. So denying permits, like you can't pull a permit for something.
It's a good idea.
Like I think it has, like if you actually want to change the behavior, I think it's gotta have some teeth. Otherwise,
Does anybody know how they do it at Mid-Penn with the Rangers, their citations?
I don't know. Never gotten one.
Well, you know.
I
with,
can ask, I can find
there's
out.
a police blotter, right? And it's public knowledge. So I don't know if you have an administrative, you keep a record of it, but if there's scoff laws that are just not, then it gets published or whatever.
Yeah, I think that if you want to change behavior, you've got to really think about like, what is the actual consequence? And it's got to be something that matters.
Stick.
Yeah, what's the stick?
Well, I see three things that should be probably codified. Obstructions in public trails generally. I think it's 12080.
Yeah, parking on
Fences
trails.
and gates. And then prohibited use of public trails, which would fall under the classification of, I guess, e-bikes, et cetera, et cetera. Fences and gates. And then the third, I think they should probably all be codified. But what about the code out of his range? I mean, as to.
No,
give us-
this is normally what the code enforcement officer does. He would issue, or she or they would issue the administrative citations.
Okay.
Yeah, and code enforcement has their own set of tools to enforce their rules. So say, for example, I built a fence across the trail, they would come out and red tag my project. They would say, this is, and I think as part of the red tag, you don't get a permit or you have to take it down. And if you don't take it down, they take it down and send you a bill, if I'm not mistaken. So certain things like that would be up to code enforcement. You're right, Ellie. We're looking at more of moving violations, maybe is a good way to look at user violations. So certainly speeding, certainly e-bikes.
It's come up a lot with e-bikes, I'll be honest. But to be honest, I think you might have heard that they have ridden away very quickly from sheriff's deputies. So I'm not sure I would be able to catch them, okay? But I think the code enforcement officer uses this tool. It's very common for building code violations. It is true that any town staffer could use it if we had that process in place for other violations. And dogs have come up a lot, bikes on trails, speeding on trails. It could be useful just to try and reiterate this, because I'm often asked, why can't we do more to enforce our codes? And education is where I always start, but it can be hard to get through to the audience. Just can. If you actually, if a kid comes home with this ticket and it's kind of like, I got a ticket from the town, it's like $50. If I was that parent, I would
But isn't it
react
really,
strongly to that ticket.
isn't it really the parents' responsibility? We're targeting the kids, so we're saying, oh, we'll get the kids, but we don't want to talk to the parents, so.
It is, but my daughter was pulled over recently for talking on or texting while driving, and that got her attention. I'll tell you that. Whereas me telling her 500 times, please do not text while driving, you could die. No, did not get her attention.
Okay, so I will go ahead and do some research on these items to see if they are already in the municipal code or an ordinance. And if not, then we can make a recommendation to have them codified. We might want to look at other things like etiquette next. We have some, you remember I attached all those various different documents to one of our agenda packages, and those are outdated. So next meeting, maybe I'll come back with one topic like, it could be as simple as, usage rules, things like how to safely pass a horse.
But they have those signs that show,
Yeah, but I mean, we will,
resurrect them.
yeah, bring this up, freshen it up, and, get it in a form that can go up on forum or, here.
So some of you might know the Portal Valley Post. Yes, it's paper. I know, Fred. I know. Okay. There's an audience here, but I
Hey,
did work.
paper is better than a PDF that I have to open from my email. So
Great. Okay. Well, and it's mailed to every household and, some people like it. So I worked with a community member to get these trail tips in. They're on the back. Horses have the right of way, yield to uphill traffic. I would love to expand this into a bigger article. The Conservation Committee had one. Emergency Preparedness has had one. But if you would like to write like a half a page, graphics are great too. for the next newsletter. I need it in about a month, if anyone wants to do that.
We'll
I'm
work on it.
kind
We
of
may not get it to
I'm
you in a
kind of
month because
desperate.
We will get you something. We may not get it to you in a month, but we will get you something.
It could be in the
because
next one. These are
there's
quarterly.
a lot of information to go through. What is, the proper way to do it? Is there any legal?
Did anyone
basis?
not get it? I can give it to you. Yeah.
Well, maybe let's not let perfect be the enemy of good, and maybe we could have a series so we could
have a series.
we could have our
So for
first.
example, a bicycle passing a horse, what is the actual number of feet you need to be away from that horse? Is that in a code somewhere, right? Is that a well-known number that's produced by some society or some,
Or even
user
just
group
if
or-
you see a horse ahead of you and you're on a bike, what should you do?
Yeah.
Call out.
Well, that's like etiquette.
Experienced
Right.
here and just say, hey, can I come up? I'm behind you. They'll move over.
And it's different whether you're behind or in front, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
I mean,
there's a lot to it, Darcy. So we want to make sure we get it right. So-
I have a question. How long has this publication been mailed out? I mean, I've never received one in my
I've
life.
never gotten it.
I haven't either.
I got one in the mail.
Oh, so about 20 years ago, it was commonly mailed out, and then I revived it. And this is the second one.
I get it on.
It should
email.
come to you, but I'll check.
No, it comes in the,
It comes in the mail.
what's it, the ERCSWSS postage?
Yeah.
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah.
Whatever that
We
means.
get the clean days. I
Yeah,
get that.
yeah.
But
Okay, we will,
Get this.
yes, I-
we will check. I have your address. I'll get yours and we'll double check. Because we do bulk mail.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not saying. it's-
wonder if you've opted out. I feel like I get all of my town stuff like electronically or something. I wonder if there's some setting.
I don't know.
Well, it wouldn't be for this. It would be for like
Yeah, it's
like
not-
other notices.
We use
I did.
the USPS bulk mail and they control the list. We just pay
Huh.
them a flat fee. But I'll check.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did not get this.
So yes, we will.
Looks great.
work
Thank
on
you.
that.
It comes out quarterly. And I do it all myself
Well
using
done.
Canva.
I think setting expectations and helping people understand, is an important first step to then citations, So yay, I'm glad you're doing it.
Education is always first. It's when education falls on deaf ears,
Absolutely.
you move to the next step.
And I can imagine there'd be a grace period before we would start giving people citations anyway. So
Gary,
let's open that up to public comment.
I just have one question.
Go ahead.
There's a building project right opposite where I live on Willowbrook. And they did close off part of the trail, so now it's all very overgrown because they still have the fence up. And then they dug huge pits twice on the trail. So I'm just wondering, who do I,
Enforcement, definitely
code enforcement or the building?
Can't
Because
dig
the
a
building,
pit in a trail. That is absolutely not okay.
they dug two huge holes and then they covered it up. So I'm afraid to even sort of
Yeah,
go
no,
there.
that's code enforcement. Yeah, you can't do that.
not building, because the house is just not quite finished. I mean, the house is finished, but they're still doing landscaping, so they might not have received their final. And also the driveway issue.
Yeah, so that,
So code and, oh,
so their
Who-
staging plan has to show where they would dig their pit to do washouts from concrete trucks. So what that is they dig a hole, they fill it full of rock. It has to be in an area that's not near a creek or near any public facility. And then they can wash out the chute of the concrete truck into that pit.
I'm not sure if that's what it was.
I don't think.
The first concrete truck washed it right on the street.
Yeah, I remember
It's-
that. Yeah.
And they, after that, they haven't done that, but okay. So you think,
It's what it could be. It
Code and-
sounds code enforcement. Anytime you see somebody doing that there's a project underway that has a permit active,
I think what I'm trying to say is how do they reinstate the trail after this building project? They need to
code
redo
enforcement.
the,
You remember on Fawn, when they did this, Howard made them rebuild the trail,
who was,
the final.
who was that?
This was a home on Fawn
Oh,
where
okay.
that big tall row of bottle
But you're
brush.
talking about Howard, but
Well, the
you're talking
public works, code enforcement, we have a new code enforcement person now.
because, I mean, they're all not permanent. They're all sort of it's farmed out, isn't it?
Yeah,
So-
but still,
so,
if you,
okay.
to their attention,
All right.
their
They will
tool,
make sure before they get their final.
yes, is make
That's
them
all.
rebuild the trail before they give them their fine.
Okay,
And
thank
Ellie,
you.
you're talking about the Westridge Trail where they got it cut off or no?
No, I'm talking about Willowbrook.
There's
a
a
little-
Westridge problem too.
What is
So
that?
they did electrical or something and they had the entire trail blocked off. So you couldn't get by there. If you ran a horse. there's no
Westridge
way.
or Cervantes?
That's up near Livonia and Dega. It was up there, that house down in the corner by Escobar. And it was really bad and they still, I don't think have resolved it quite. And it's a little dicey. I don't know if people are riding their horses by there, but I wouldn't recommend it until the trail's been reassessed. And there was still yellow up on.
Yeah, we should talk about,
Okay.
Yeah, I recently sent an email to Sarah, reminding her that if a trail is going to be impacted by a project, even if
This
it's an
is-
encroachment permit.
this is technically a Westridge Trail that
It is.
that we're talking about.
Yeah, but even those should come before us and we'll,
Yeah.
make the call on who's the trail. But like this one on Fawn that I sent out on the forum, they tore up right on the corner of Fawn and Cervantes. The trail is completely obliterated. And I said, do you have an encroachment permit? And they said, sure we do. And they showed me the encroachment permit. And, nowhere on there did it say keep the trail open. Nowhere on there did it say you have to score the trail. Although he was told by Robert he had to score the trail. So I just sent her an email reminding her that, this kind of has to be part of the process that even if it's just an encroachment permit, certainly if it's a site development permit, we need to get notified. The public needs to get notified that a trail is being closed. It needs to be closed properly with the proper signage and safety, tape or whatever it's going to take so no one gets hurt. And then, we need to know when it's done so it can be, looked at and reopened. So I know this is when you're redeveloping your building and planning department, these are the kinds of things that fall through the cracks and we just need to help them, make sure it gets reintegrated into their process. And I know Darcy's and Sarah both know this, so. Okay, great. So any other public comment on item H? Okay, we have some work to do. Okay, new business town picnic. Do we want to have a table this year at town picnic? Are any volunteers at the table?
I did not feel it was a great use of time last year.
I can find out.
This is why we have the newsletter. It's there. All the events are there. It is September 19th, and I'm pleased to announce that the registration is open for Zots to Tots. If you're like me, you wanted to be race bib number 1. I registered yesterday. I think I got 22. So if you want to be in like the top 50, there's still a chance, but I would encourage all of you to sign up for Zots to Tots. It's a smoother system this year. You can sign up and pay right away. We had an issue last year. And I'll also put in the plug. I saw last year a lot of bicyclists kind of spilling the little kids. So we're going to have a more robust first aid support system with the CERT team. And I've also been told that like our sheriff's deputies are going to engage and they might ride bikes, which is great. So I would encourage all of you to, of course, be there.
And e-bikes are allowed? I know but Mary's got an e-bike
It's-
and she was good.
It's on a public road. You probably can't.
Are
stop.
allowed, but I will tell you, since I was there last year, a lot of potential conflicts between bikes and runners. Yeah. Yeah. And then a lot of little kids spilling it. Yeah. So hope you can come. And I have been encouraging committees. I think it's a real fun thing. We have conservation, a few emergency.
I think I can do an hour. Someone else can do an hour. We can probably figure it out. So. Okay, so I'll reply back to Patty and I'll get a table and
Wait, who's going to do the table?
I'll do it for an hour.
Oh, okay.
My kids will be there and they're old enough now that I don't need to watch them. Run free. No, this. Okay, Okay, any public comment on the town picnic item? Or maybe we'll borrow a sign or something from the horse fair. I don't know. if we've got anything to, something. We can put some trail maps out there again and
We got,
anything left over to give away, any raffle stuff. No.
I'll find you some.
Put a bottle of,
well, the, yeah.
okay, great. Okay. Okay, 10 o'clock. We did great. Thank you, everyone. Our next meeting is September 16th.
Do you want a motion to adjourn?
I would love a motion. to
I
adjourn.
move to adjourn.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor? And we are adjourned.